Marina, Nora, Rodriguez, Juiz. I think we've had you before. Great name. Thank you very much, Marina. Hi, Peter. Do you think it's true what they say that Adrian is already signed for Aston? So sad. I was really hoping he would come to Ferrari. Thank you. Well, I don't know. At the risk of wishing that Adrian Newey didn't watch this show and get the idea of going to Aston in the first place, which is something I mentioned a while ago, is that the shopping list of Laurence Stroll for sure has Adrian Newey absolute number one critical item to obtain, to basically to stop him going anywhere else like McLaren or Ferrari or Mercedes. But and I said, there's so much synergy there in terms of the road car staff and unlimited amounts of money, that there was a very good chance that he would go to Aston, and we should all be ready for the shock of that. And I think the time has come to say that looks as if it's going to happen. Very sad. Not sad for Fernando Alonso, of course, and Alonso fans of the world. It's a good thing. Bear in mind, of course, that by the time Adrian's 26 cars on stream, Fernando will be, 45, I think. And it's not to say that Fernando won't continue to race through to the level of Luigi Fagioli, who embraced pre and post-war and won Grand Prix, both pre and post-war. Or indeed, Juan Manuel Fangio. It wasn't exactly a spring chicken. And then Fernando could go on race forever, until he's 60 or something, who knows. But the general wisdom in Formula One is that, 45 is pushing it a bit, probably, in terms of being at your absolute peak. But anyway, it's good news for Fernando, I guess. He just wishes he was 10 years younger, I suspect. But, for the rest of it, I don't know. I'm like you. I'm totally with you, Marina. I just feel very unsettled by the whole thing. I felt unsettled by so many things this year. Carlos Sainz getting sacked by Ferrari and a few other things that have happened, management stuff, and now this. It's like, I don't know what it's like, going to McDonald's, ordering your Big Mac, and then bringing in a €15,000 bottle of Lafite Rothschild and drinking that with your Big Mac. I mean, it's just such a sad thing if he goes there, I think. There's nothing really. I don't want to be too unkind to them because I've got some good friends at Aston, but I don't know, the way it's run, the money thing, the whole deal with the Strolls, it's just going to be, get ready for Laurence Stroll to win Grand Prix, I suppose, is what all we can do and say. So why isn't he going to Ferrari? Well, as predicted, Ferrari need him. They should be paying through the nose for him, but Freddie Vasseur is not a walkover, and he has his own ideas on things, obviously. And it's interesting that he's currently involved in some of the engineering of the car as well. And I can imagine Adrian would have wanted total control of everything, the who's hired and fired, how it's done, entire rejigging of the drawing office. And Ferrari probably said, well, no, we're not going to give you all that control. And anyway, we are an Italian company subject to Italian union laws, and we can't just allow you to hire and fire at will because there will be huge union considerations. So, they probably said, okay, forget it. And I think the biggest thing here, to be honest, is why he's not going to McLaren, because you would imagine that Zak Brown going after everything that he can get that works and is logical in racing, you would imagine that Adrian would be number one on his shopping list as well. And maybe he is, and maybe he just realizes he's never going to be able to outbid Laurence Stroll, which is, surprising because he does have quite serious Bahraini backers, doesn't he, or shareholders. So that's the curious one for me, why Adrian, and also from Adrian's point of view, why he wouldn't prefer to go to McLaren than go and work for the Strolls. That's another odd one, because he'd be so at home at McLaren, wouldn't he? Cool team, or great love of historic racing cars between Zach and Adrian, and they've got a massive ownership of cars as well. And then lots of GT racing stuff that Harry could get involved with, Harry Newey, and it just seemed like there was a whole. It's just a shame if he doesn't go to McLaren, because it looked really good. It looked like the right place for him to be. Not that McLaren in any way need Adrian Newey right now, because they're doing such a good job anyway. It's just that it's better to have Adrian than not have him. And as I said before, if you've got Adrian, he's not waiting for anywhere else either. So it was a bit of a double whammy for anybody that gets him. And I just think it's a sad indictment of Toto Wolff's management, obviously, over the last few years since 2022, that he's not going to Mercedes, because he should be going to Mercedes. If Toto had really done the job, he should be hiring Adrian Newey now to take Mercedes into the next millennium, and getting more championships going. And it's, that is, as I say, that's the most outstanding indictment, really, I think, of this whole thing, that Adrian's not really been even considering Mercedes, from what we gather. So I think you need to fasten your seatbelts and be ready for an announcement. It's it's going to be pretty sick making, I think, and it's just like hiring one of the world's greatest violinists and having him play with the rock band that you've put together, and it just doesn't feel right to me. What more can I say? Maybe I'm too much of a purist. I'm a massive Adrian fan, as everybody knows. Everybody has to be. You'd be an idiot not to be, given his talent. But I like him as a guy, and I like him for his love of the sport. And I just hate to see his career ending that way. But, money. Do you think Stroll's aggressive results personality can mix with the more passive, reserved style of Newey? Stroll seems impatient and volatile. I think we need to put a prefix here. Is it we talking Laurence or Lance here? Because I think if you're talking about Laurence, Adrian knows a little bit about him already because of the road car. So I think Adrian will be going in with his eyes open, and I think Laurence on this occasion will realise that he's got this gem, and he needs to treat him with respect and not shout and scream at him, and let Adrian get on with it. So I think that's probably where they're at, but doesn't set itself up for the happiest of marriages in the history of happy marriages, does it? But I think they both know where they're coming from going into this relationship, and every time Adrian gets annoyed, maybe he just has to keep his mouth shut and look at his bank account, I guess, is the way that's going to have to go. Alex B. Hi, Peter. Is Laurence Stroll going for straight flush? Money, Newey, Verstappen, Honda. What do you think? No, I don't think at this stage he's thinking Verstappen. I think he's organised enough to think Newey. Got to get Newey, and then we'll see where it goes, and see how Fernando is in a couple of years, and how quick he is, and how long he wants to race for, and then we'll see who's going well at that point. And it may not be Max, at that point it might be Oscar Piastri that he wants, or somebody like that. I mean, the odds are he's not going to want anybody who's going to upstage his son too much, because he wants his son not only to win Grand Prix, but also to be world champion. He really believes he has the talent, I'm sure. So that's ultimately what this is all about. Have no doubt about that. Kevin Pryor, how quickly will Newey turn Aston Martin into a world championship winning team? Well, I think it all starts in 26 onwards, and potentially that for the new regs it will be. But as I say, it's power unit as well, 26. So it's not as if it's just Adrian coming in and doing his aero thing. He's coming in to do a complete car, I guess. He will have some impact in 25. I'm not quite sure how much time he'll be on with the team next year. But I think the 25 car will definitely benefit from a few things that Adrian will see that he doesn't like, a few gaps here, a few angles that aren't right. And the other point, of course, is that Laurence Stroll has actually done a very intelligent thing by hiring Newey-Cowell, and probably Adrian, that's had a massive influence on Adrian's decision as well, I think, because that is just the combination that is everybody else's worst nightmare. Newey-Cowell, of course, is the man behind the success of the hybrid Mercedes powertrain, and that is, it's impossible to buy that sort of experience and that talent. And for Andy now to be setting up what he needs to do with Honda for 2026, and for Adrian to be coming now and doing the car overall, that is the combination that everybody else, it's the dream combination, and that's a big problem for all the other teams, for sure. Adrian getting paid 100 million a year, yeah, I see that. Somebody quoted that. I mean, that sounds like a pretty round number that somebody has just guessed behind their laptop, putting it out on the internet. It doesn't sound right to me. I would have thought it'd be a lot more than that. And I imagine there's a lot more in it in terms of bonuses and shares as well. It just seems too round a number to me to be right. Sorry, I don't go along with all this talk. Why would Adrian tell anybody what he's being paid, and why would Aston Martin tell anybody what they're paying Adrian? It just wouldn't happen. So it's just what somebody out there in the Ethernet has thought is a good number. Kevin Pryor, do you think Alonso will get his third world title because of Newey? I can't answer that. I'd say no. but I think Newey's first car, i.e. the 26 car, will for sure not be a bad car, and Fernando's still mega quick, so he'll win Grand Prix. I think that's a good question to answer. Will Fernando win Grand Prix with Newey? Yes. Championship? Difficult, I think, for Fernando to win another championship. The car's got to be, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull and McLaren have got to be way off target in 26 to win a championship. He'll win races, I think, but not a championship. Red Bull organisation, are the wheels coming off? Easy to say that. Easy to say, Newey leaving, Perez drama, Max may leave. Now Jonathan Wheatley leaving. Other engineers have left, good people. Red Bull, different time of their life in terms of the company and the family and the shares. But no, I think it's still basically a very, very good team with some very, very strong building blocks around which they operate. And I don't think so, no. I think it's still going to be a very strong team. The only thing that could happen is that Red Bull may decide they've had enough and pull out of the sport. Well, that was always going to happen. The same way Laurence Stroll could decide tomorrow he's not going to do it anymore. It's always a risk when the team is owned by somebody who's mass putting. But having said that, Christian's done a pretty good job of building up a commercial infrastructure around the team. Sergio Perez sponsors being a good example, but others too, to make it less dependent on Red Bull. And I think they could survive it reasonably well if Red Bull announced, say, in 3 years' time they're pulling out of Formula One. I think the team would still be able to continue pretty effectively.